So, T.B.D. Have you wondered about that since you saw that as my title? So did I. So let me just do a little build up to that, all right? The science of mind philosophy, which is where we're sitting in the midst of, and its teachings offer us an understanding of how spirit operates. And my lesson title, T.B.D., of course, is a metaphor, which will utilize a series of my perceptions on the operation of this thing called spirit. All right? And you know, I wonder a lot. So I wondered, what is awaiting my discovery that I will share this morning? Because I always wonder that. I mean, even up to now. And because any of you who do presentations, there's a authenticity and a liveliness when you're just, I'll say, off the cuff a bit. And so I wondered, what's awaiting my discovery? So how I begin that is I open to spirit, my own mind, which, of course, is a part of God's mind, the universal mind. And I like to refer to it as the divine mind, the tasty, nutritious mind, because it's so filled with all good that anything we want to pull off that shelf for us, for my mind, is there. It just awaits the demand. And so what came through for me was this T.B.D. because I like to make people wonder too. To be determined is the most common word association, right? Do you have any of your, what would you put with T.B.D.? Huh? Oh, your schedule. So if you put a word to T and a word to B and a word to D, what would that be? To be divine, like that. Truth being demonstrated was one I came up with. That's a different title, but I like it. Thought being delivered. Connie. Treatment begets divinity. Trust being developed. And my favorite, the big deal. This is the big deal. The big deal. Anything else? Anybody else have anything that came up since then? No? Huh? Oh, to better decisions. Perfect, yes. Well, the truth of you, the TBDs, are those beliefs that are held dear. Those beliefs that we know that fulfill us, that lift us, that support us. And when we add the thoughts, the emotions along the way to those beliefs, all that's part of the emotion of whatever's going to be demonstrated down the road. They are activating into this mind, this one mind of God. And as they proceed toward this demonstration, sometimes we have emotional bumps. And sometimes they'll dent our fender a little bit on the road, you know? But that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. The really idea is to remain conscious in our belief system. See what comes up. That's why I spoke to Loving What Is this morning about what comes up in our mind and our emotions can trigger us and get us a little off track. But that's okay. That's okay. Because we know how to get back on track, don't we? We are forever in creation with this thing called mind, this spirit, because we're activating into it. This process, spiritual mind treatment, is we call affirmative prayer because we speak affirmatively about what's going on or what we deserve or what we desire. I use the word deserve because if you don't think you deserve it, you can speak all the words you want around it. You can flower it up, you can sprinkle it with fairy dust, whatever you want to do. But if you don't believe it, is that you deserve it. And along the way, with treatment, we get to a point where, yes, we realize we do deserve. So that's that pray without ceasing we've heard along the way of any of our teachings in churches and different things. Pray without ceasing. What would Jesus do? It's being conscious along the way. So the purpose of this affirmative prayer is to remove any doubt, clear the mind, to gain the realization of a greater idea of truth. Let's go back to T.B.D. for a moment. The B in the middle, to me, is a verb. It's a verb of spirit. It's an activity. Being, begetting, becoming. So, your big deal, you're always begetting. You're always enforcing or reinforcing or reactivating. Treatment is the kickoff toward the goal that you have in your mind. In the science of mind, treatment is noted as an active thing. When one gives a treatment, he is not sitting around hoping that something may happen. He is definitely, constructively, actively stating, sensing, knowing some specific good. That's treatment. Who can do that? I can do that. You can just start being affirmative. You know, I love this. I am this. And using very positive statements of truth for yourself. And so to clarify, treatment states, senses, knows what you wanted, what you deserve, and ultimately what you require and get. Now, sometimes you don't know the what, do you? But you do know how it will feel to realize the what. As a newbie to affirmative prayer, long time ago, the first big thing I treated for was a very expensive new car. Well, it was realized, the car, it had a personalized license plate. TRTMENT. Fit perfect, 7 letters. I thought, it was a big deal. It was a big car. What it also came with was the payment book. So, and it wasn't long before I began to dread, oh God, it's car payment time again. Ugh. Well, my feeling was with the car and the payment book was trapped and strapped and mad. Okay? That's honest. It got to that point. I had manifest the thing, but that did not realize that the feeling that thing represented. And I don't mean the payment book. I wanted to feel free. Transportation is freedom to move, somewhere. Well, I mean, you got the car, you got the license plate, but can you get gas in it today? I don't know. You know, it was a guzzler. So I didn't have that car very long. I moved it out of my experience. But the lesson for me was feeling. What feeling do we want to have along the way? Now, sometimes it takes longer to realize something in a treatment. And I've learned in the 40 years that I've done this that it's just, you just got to keep doing it. You just got to keep doing it. You got to keep treating, you got to keep knowing, you got to keep clearing away because things come at us. You know, it's just like they fall from the sky somewhere. But these other than truths about ourselves, they kind of filter in. Sometimes it's the TV, sometimes it's people around you, sometimes it's within you, some old upheaval that you haven't cleared fully yet, like a weed in the garden. Where did that come from? I just got rid of that. Well, there it is again. Smaller, but there it is. I want to share something from Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is. And I had a chance to meet her many years ago in person and watch her do the work she talks about. It's remarkable. But she writes, when I, Byron Katie, discovered the work, when it discovered me, she says, I realized that reality is always good, whatever form it appears in. Every experience is supplied by a friendly universe. Every experience is a gift. It's falling down. It's getting up. It's your everyday chores. It's the smell of fresh strawberries. It's the death of a loved one. It's your spouse falling in love with someone else. What happened to her? It's everything that happens in your life, whether you believe that it's good or bad. People with questioned minds see the apparently... Starting over. People with questioned minds see the apparently bad as good because they no longer live in a world of opposites, the world in which there is any thoughtful power enough to override the true nature of things. They have realized this goodness so deeply that they can live it every moment of their lives. And that's the goal. Do we do that? I don't do it. I'm better at it now, but I don't do it all the time. Last month, and this tags on to the demonstrations taking a while, I was gifted with a powerful demonstration, which was in production for 9 years. And it happened, the conclusion of the demonstration happened in Italy. Da-dun, da-dun. So on the screen will be some scenes of my trip to Italy, to which I'll be narrating and sharing my T.B.D. process. All right? And they're symbolic of all of our processes. I start with a door. This is a metal door. I just love, I love the symbol of the door. And you can look at it and it's beautiful, but many times behind the door of our minds, unless we open that door, it's just a pretty door. And for whatever reason, sometimes we're afraid to walk through that door. So a door draws me to open up. Now this is in Rome. So we did Rome for like three days, 3 nights, and then we went to Florence, where the Arno, the river, and the Ponte Vecchio, the gold bridge, I like gold, Um, but it's just a beautiful. Whoop, back up. Wrong signal. Symbolically, it's a bridge to cross. So I was paying attention to all this. Of course, I was, because my intention was to complete a process, which I'll get to. So this is a bridge that we did step into, and it was a beautiful, beautiful day, as you can see that day. A lot of cloudy skies, lots of, I'll say, moisture. Looking back, it was a few tears from Spirit, washing, washing, washing. But what I also noticed that we need to take action in our lives. We need to get involved. So here we are. We're making gnocchi, and we get our hand. You have to get your hands into gnocchi, kind of like life. Then you start forming something out of it. Next slide, please. Until, ta-da, we're ready. It's ready to take the next step, and that is to prepare and to cook, and then to ingest. So next slide, please. Now, you can't forget a process if there's no sweet, a little dolce. And this is another symbolic image for me, that there's the production, there's the creation with our hands, and then we pause for a moment to taste the sweetness. Next slide, please. And then I came to another door to open. Another door to open. And that door, at this point, I was getting a little concerned because my demonstration wasn't looking very hopeful. And then, so I did treatment, and I went through, and the next slide will show you that it was really quite savory on the other side of that fear. And next slide, please. And so we kept moving. I kept moving. This was the bus trip on to the next piece of this journey, to this completion, to this demonstration. And then the next shows us enjoying the benefits of Spirit, having some communion one day. And so after that, next slide. Okay, this is when I found out that my demonstration could be realized. And the demonstration was where to scatter Reverend Louis' ashes, who died 9 years ago last week. And I like to say he's traveled, almost as much after he left the planet as when he was on the planet. So we had taken that bus to a boat, came in by water to Monterosso, Cinque Terre, the northernmost city on the coast. And on the way, our guide said, Monterosso is in La Spezia province, which is the province in which Genoa sits. And his grandparents were from Genoa. That was his wish. And so we had the lunch. James and I took the walk. I said, it's going to be here somewhere. It's got to be here. And we're going to go find it. And we walked past here comes a wedding out the church, and the church bells were ringing. And we followed the bride and the groom. It's like very symbolic. I loved it. And there was a reception in the piazza. Live music, 4 pieces. a soprano, and a tenor. Who does that here? Don't you love it? Those Italians, they do it right. So I said, this has to be the celebration. So we're walking along and we see this. We see this. Well, his grandparents were Catholic. And so here's this. I said, this is it. This has to be it. Next slide, please. So we start the walk up the hillside. And it's 4 or 5 or 6 switchbacks until this is the place, overlooking the water. And so at that moment, it was perfect. The words, the sprinkling, the tears, the holding. And it was so quiet. Just like this. And from the piazza, the soprano begins to sing Ave Maria, as if on cue. That's trusting, even in the midst of lots of doubt, lots of closed doors, lots of distraction. It was just a beautiful, beautiful time. And is there one more? Can you cue that up, please? It has a... And then there was that. Thank you. So when I was living in this authentic self on vacation, this trip to Italy, which was postponed 3 years because of the COVID thing, and you just have to go, okay, there's good in this. I gotta love this. What needs to happen now. And this was so perfect of a demonstration. Thank you. And to come back, and it was a release of just so much, and yet a sense of knowing that I do love deeply. And when any of us have tears, no matter how long it's been, for whatever the occasion or the situation, that means you love deeply, and you still do, and you still will. Phineas Quimby wrote, "Thought, like the seed, germinates and comes forth, like the tree, in the form of an idea. It then waits like the fruit to be eaten." Isn't that beautiful? So in closing, beloveds, I would like you to say with me, there is no time in the mind of God. The mind of God is good. My goal is T.B.D. To be discovered along life's way. I am patient and I am kind, and there is beloved delight at each point of my demonstration. I am love, and you are love. Namaste.